Assalamualaikum and good day, students. For topic 6, for research methodology for OSH, we will learn about the methodology. So in this topic, there are some part, which is the first one. We will learn about the overview of the methodology, and then next about instrumentation, and last one we will learn also about the data analysis. The learning outcome of this topic, you should be able to apply scientific knowledge on the following methods for conducting a research, such as research design, sampling design and techniques, measurement and instrumentation, research ethic, and also the data analysis. So what is methodology? Yeah, so methodology, it refers to the practice that you will use to gather, present, and analyze your data. In this part, you will identify what is the methodology that you intend to use for your research, and then you should describe the specific technique or procedure that you propose to use to collect and also analyze your data, and also how you can convince the reader that this technique, the technique that you choose, and also the procedure that you choose are appropriate for the type of the study that you are proposed. The methodology that you use, or the technique, the procedure is can use to achieve your objective. And also in this part, you have to mention any limitation that you are aware of for your research. This research methodology section, it should identify the methodology that underpins your research and give a rationale for your approach. It also show how you have used your review of the literature to construct your own research methodology. This is some typical format under the methodology section. Okay, so there is a variable or hypothesis. There are also the research design. Yeah, what is the research design that you will use? Qualitative or quantitative design, or maybe experimental, or maybe observational. Yeah, so and also the study area of location of your study. And then how many population of the study, and then how many sample, and then what kind of sampling technique that you use to determine the sample size for your study, and then data collection instrument, that how you the procedure to collect the data. So what is the procedure, or how is the procedure for do the data analysis? It is using the statistical analysis, maybe SPSS, or PLS, SEM, or maybe qualitative study, and then how you do the pilot study, and then the validity or reliability, ethical consideration, so meanings that you get the approval from the research committee example, or maybe what is the fieldwork challenges, for the methodology or for your research. Okay, so for the methodology, it must relate to the research objective. It has to be clear what is the method that you will use to achieve each objective of your study. Okay, so example, objective 1. So objective 1, the method I will use questionnaire example, and the analysis you will use independent test example. For objective 2, the method that you will use maybe experiment, and then the data analysis that you will use maybe ANOVA analysis example. And then this is highlight the breadth and depth of research, and then also identify what is the variable that you use for your study. Maybe there is like independent, what is the independent variable, what is the dependent variable, yeah. And then research design, it would be good to put it into a flow chart. So you make the flow chart from the beginning, starting before you collect the data until you finish do the analysis, yeah. And then how your data collection plan. So sometimes some researcher make it into the a Gantt chart, and then or maybe between phase, there is phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, right? So it also can be included in your flowchart methodology. Yeah, so how long you will collect the data and so on. And then give a detailed sampling plan, the target population characteristic, the specific sampling plan, and how many target sample size, based on the sampling technique that you have chosen, how many sample that should contribute or participate in your study, so your study will be more valid, and then the objective of your research could be achieved. For instrument subchapter, under chapter methodology, it should describe the instrument that will be used to gather data. Okay, what is the test, technique, and then survey. So if survey, so the instrument may be like the questionnaire or maybe checklist and so on. And for example, also experiment. Yeah, if you do the experiment, so maybe the instrument is like dosimeter or anthropometer or electromyography. Yeah, so that this is the equipment that you will use, yeah, the instrument that you will use for your research. Okay, and then the provide the reliability and validity information to show technique are valid, yeah, for the study. And then describe how the variable will be measured using this instrument or maybe the equipment, and provide justification for selection of instrument based on theory, research questions, subject characteristic, or maybe also based on some reference previous research that you have referred. Yeah? So that justification you can use to justify why you use this instrument, or maybe what is the justification of use this equipment for you to achieve your objective. So for next is for procedure. It describes how the study will be conducted, and what is the step, is there any some phase, yeah, so you have to put the detail, the procedure to collect data analysis, and then you can achieve all your objective study. And then when, how, where, and by whom the data will be collected, so it has to be clear in this procedure subchapter. And then describe also the design of the test will be conducted, or statistical tests that will be selected in this section. So for the purpose of the research design, why we should design our research, yeah? So it can describe your project activities in detail, like I mentioned before, of like you have to give the detail, or from the beginning, from the starting point before you collect the data. So you plan what is the type of the instrument, type of the sampling that you use, yeah, until you finish do the analysis, yeah. So describe the project activities in detail, indicates how your objective will be accomplished. That's why I always tell that when you do some research, you have to know what is the objective of your study, because all of the thesis, methodology, literature review, data collection background, it should represent the objective of your research, yeah. So the method have to be used, to achieve your objective of your study. Description should include the sequence, flow, and interrelationship of activities. It also should discuss the risk of your method and indicate why your success is probable. Yeah, and then it relate what is unique about your approach. You have to mention also, yeah, in here in the research design subchapter. For data analysis part, this is essentially a four-step process. First, Identify precisely what will be evaluated. So okay, if you wrote measurable objectives, you already know what should be evaluated, and then determine the methods used to evaluate each objective. Yeah. Okay, and then specify the analysis you plan to make and the data you need to collect. So your design might be simply to observe behavior of a particular population, or maybe something more complex, yeah, like multiple control group design. Sorry, and then last, summarize the resulting data analysis and indicate its use. Okay. You can consider the mock data table that show what your resulting data might look like, or maybe you can use the chart, the diagram, and so on. So this is some tips for writing the research design. So begin with your objective, yeah, and then describe the precise step you will follow to carry out each objective, okay, including what will be done and who will do it. And then keep asking, answering, and what's next, yeah, what's next question. Okay, so after you finish, identify, describe the method for your first objective, and then next for the second objective, what is the method, who will be done, who will do this data collection and data analysis to achieve the objective 2, and then until your last objective. Okay, so once you have determined the sequence of event, so cast the major milestone into a time and task chart. Okay, so for the study design, you have to know how many population that include for your type of study, and then from this population, so you can calculate the sample, yeah, using some sampling technique, and then what is the data collection method, and also the data and the data collection method, yeah. So maybe like I mentioned before, maybe based on the survey, or maybe or the what else, the field work, yeah, and so on. And then setting, okay, brief description of the community, organization, or agency in which you are going to carry out the research, yeah? You have to know that. And then the last one is analysis of data. So what is the method that you are going to use for analyze your data? Some of the most research in OSH, in the quantitative study, they use the statistical analysis. Statistical analysis is not only using the SPSS. SPSS is just one of the software that can be used to analyze the data based on the statistical analysis. Beside SPSS, there are also Minitab. Yeah, Minitab also can be used for qualitative and quantitative study, and also many kind of software for the statistical analysis. So SPSS is just one of the software to do the statistical analysis data. Sometimes also researcher using the PLS or SEM, yeah, structural equation modeling, yeah. So it depends on you. You have to do the research, you have to do the literature review. So what, based on your literature review, what is the previous research have done, method that they have used that's similar with your study that you will be conducted. So for research design should be under the plan, structure, and strategy of investigating the research problem. Yeah, so this operational plan. Then you have to know the procedure to be adopted, and also before that, testing the design. Okay, for sampling type, actually, sampling strategies are numerous. They can be categorized into 3 groups, which is the first one is random or probability sampling. Second one is non-random or probability sampling, and the last one is mixed sampling. This is some data collection method that maybe you can use for your research. So first one is primary sources. Primary sources, this is like journal, books, yeah. So this is primary sources, and also like the based on literature review, yeah, for data collection. Okay, so some of research also using the data collection method is based on the literature review. So this is we call it as the primary sources, yeah. And then using the observation, so this is more on qualitative study. Interview also more on qualitative study. So some researcher also use the questionnaire. This is for the quantitative study. And then use of secondary sources. Secondary sources, like example is if you do the secondary data, secondary data like the example from the Department of Statistics, yeah, and so maybe from the police accident data, road accident data from the police, so it also can be used, yeah. And then establish the validity of the selected instrument. For collecting data, you need to get the research ethic approval first. Yeah? So actually, when we will do the research that involving human in our research, so it should be we have to get the human ethic approval first. Okay, this ethical issue relating to the research participant, yeah, so we have to get their consent, and then what incentive that we can give to them, and then the sensitive information or harm to participant, we have to non-disclosure about this all the data, yeah, about all the information. And also ethical issue relating to the researcher, like the avoiding bias, using appropriate research methodology, and also the correct reporting, etc. Okay, so when you will do the processing data, first thing you have to editing data. Editing here means that maybe sometimes you will found the missing value. Example, when you will do the questionnaire, sometimes participant miss to fill up the answer for one question, example, so the data will be blank. So in the statistic you have some method how you can do something for the missing value data, right? So that's why before you do the analysis you have to make sure all the data is valid, yeah. And then you do the coding data, verifying the coded data, and then you can analyze the data. Okay, after you analyze the data you have to display the data, so you the people that read your thesis can interpret what is the result of your analysis, what is the interpretation of your analysis. So it will be good if you can give a good visual display data for in your thesis, so the people that read your thesis can easily understand about the analysis from your data. Okay, so that's all for this overview of methodology. So next we will still we will continue with our subchapter in this topic, methodology, yeah, like the research design and also instrument and etc. Okay, okay, so thank you for your cooperation, and we meet again next in the next slide. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.